So I recently had the pleasure to help one of my clients purchase a house that was previously burned down to ashes a year ago. Here are the things that I learned and my client learned through the whole process of buying a burned down house that I think it's very important for you to know so you don't regret the purchase of these type of homes down the road. So let's dive right in.
You're watching a home video shot by a neighbor of a 3-alarm fire that happened in the middle of the night on Churubusco Lane on March 14th. More than 100 firefighters battled the blaze and several were trapped when the townhouse collapsed.
So first of all, you really need to know the story. You need to know the entire story behind what happened here. So things that you could do is just can Google the address of this property just to see if there are any reports online, if the county or on the it made it to the news, if there are any fire reports, although this information may not be completely public, but you really need to know what happened. Sometimes the news will give you a lot of good information that you will need for these type of things. So you have to do that way ahead of time before you even decide to make an offer on the property. And what are we looking for here? Was it a faulty wiring? Was it a natural disaster risk? Was it a gas leak? Was an accident within the house? Is the one of the owners go to sleep and forgot to turn off the gas stove? So you need to really understand a lot of those things and to make sure that you have the whole picture of what happened. I will also say that it's very important to go and talk to the next door neighbors, whether if this was a townhouse, in this case, it was a townhouse in Germantown, Maryland. You need to talk to maybe probably both neighbors, or if it's a single family, it was a condo, talk to the neighbors around it just to make sure they kind of give you their perspective of what happened. Maybe they'll tell you things about the previous owner that are very, could be interesting to you. You need to confirm that repairs and the rebuilding of the property was done to comply with the current construction code and standards. This is very important for you to know this was really done. Another good thing you could do is go to the county website for the permits department and find out if all the permits were pulled to rebuild this property. See if the occupancy permit was issued. Make sure there are no outstanding permits, meaning that they needed to have a second or third inspection. You need to have a lot of those things all taken care of just to make sure that everything is in compliance. Because the first thing that is not in compliance should definitely be a big red flag for you. You also need to see the history of in disclosures. Did the current owner disclose the property? Is it a disclaimer? Is this selling by the current owners? Was now is this being sold by the state, by the people that inherited the property in the event that the worst case scenario happened to the previous owner? So a lot of these things you really, really, really have to pay attention just to make sure that you are definitely, definitely, definitely doing your due diligence with this. Now, that takes me to my next point, which will be get a very good home inspection. And if necessary, inspect this place even twice. Yes, you need to really go ahead and hire a good home inspector. And as your realtor are interviewing inspectors or calling around, just tell them ahead of time what happened to this house. Just want to let me know that the house caught fire and it was rebuilt, and that so far there are no damages that are visible, and that you need to inspect this and ask them if they have any experience with these type of properties, because it may be that they have no experience. So you want to really get that. And again, as I said, maybe get two inspectors. Maybe you want to set up the inspection appointment for this property to be more than the normal time, because you're going to tell the seller, hey, I'm bringing two different home inspectors to give me a whole different perspective. You need to really concentrate, pay a very close attention to the plumbing, electrical systems, HVAC systems. Okay, these are very important that you pay attention to a lot of these things, because you want to make sure they were rebuilt properly. You want to make sure that the contractor, the homeowner, didn't cut any corners when they were doing these things, and that of course they were inspected. In this case, this house that I'm talking about is in Germantown. This home, the owner of the property went to the extent to actually update the property with all the new standards. So this is probably the only house that it has a sprinkler system on that block, because all those homes were built 30 plus years ago. So this is a good thing. So you got to really look into a lot of these things. do not skip on anything that has to do with mold or air quality testing because of the smoke damage. Yes, it burned down to the ashes. There is only the structural walls that are left, but the smoke can stay there forever. Even if you painted, even if you did all these things, sometimes the smoke can linger a little bit longer. So make sure that they are doing the proper due diligence with a lot of these things. As I said, an air quality testing, it's very important, and you should not cut any corners when you are doing these type of things. Important. Understand the emotional roller coaster of these type of transactions. Be prepared from some pushbacks from potential lenders and insurance companies. Yes, you are now telling them, your lender may even ask you if this, what do you know about this property? And remember, this is, you are going to tell the truth to your lender as well as everybody else in the process. So if the insurance company also may have an issue, sometimes insurance companies do not want to insure a house that was burned down before. Sometimes, not always. And it rarely happens, but you want to be very upfront with this. The fact that it was rebuilt, it doesn't mean it cannot happen again. And remember, insurance is in the event of a risk, a high risk, an accident. So they want to make sure that they're not against something that could happen potentially again. So just make sure that some people push say no, we don't want to give you the money, we don't want to give you the insurance, or it's going to cost you a lot more because of this. Just be careful with that. Realize there is a stigma when buying a burned down house. And this could be something that so many buyers can potentially be in the future if you decide to sell the house. Some people will say, like, oh, I will never buy a house that it has any type of fire damage or it was completely burned down. So you got to be careful with a lot of these things because that can be a potential issue that you could face if that when the time comes for you to sell the property. Not right now, not immediately, but when the time comes down, that's some kind of stigma you have to deal with. But at the same time, the reward of having a brand new house, imagine brand new countertops, imagine brand new appliances, brand new flooring, brand new ceiling, a lot of these things that are very important. You also want to make sure that when it comes to the structure, that everything is very sound. That make sure that if the next door neighbor suffer any type of damage, as I said, if in the event of a townhouse, just to make sure that everything was properly rebuilt. Maybe the type of insulation that was used. A lot of the home inspectors use thermal guns that can actually detect potential changes in temperature or water problems in that are behind the property. Just make sure that you're doing a lot of this due diligence, right? Inspect the basement as much as you can, just to make sure, because if the only thing that was left is the basement, the foundation walls, you really want to make sure you're doing the due diligence and inspecting a lot of these things. So go ahead and do a lot of those things, inspect them, make sure you're doing the right thing. And as I said it again, if you need to bring two home inspectors, by all means, bring the two home inspectors. And the main thing here is that we are looking for the workmanship of the type of this property, that making sure that the contractor did not cut any corners in the process. That's the most important thing that we have to look into these type of rebuilt properties. Now, this could be a gold mine. This could also potentially have a great return on the investment. Rebuilt homes can have a really, at least they offer you a lot of peace of mind because of the new construction, the new materials, the systems have been updated to be the greatest and latest, so that to prevent, again, because everybody learns from previous mistakes, that maybe this was something that it was done previously and now that it's being corrected, right? These can also potentially give you some equity, some good equity, because of the stigma that people don't want to buy these type of homes. So there could be some potential appreciation in these type of properties, right? There can be some modern upgrades that have been done to this house that can really give you a lot of good things that you need for your future. So don't completely say it's a bad thing. Always think there is a brighter side on the decision that you're making. And the most important thing is that you have peace of mind. Okay. When you have good peace of mind, that's a really, really good thing to know that this has been done to the highest standards and that you're going to feel comfortable going into this property knowing that nothing else is going to happen to you and or your loved ones down the road. But as I always said, it's your research part in these type of properties. It is very important. Also, you also have to look at to make sure that there are good, like water access for this property. Water hoses have been put in the front yard, on the backyard, in the basement. Make sure that the hydrant system in the area, the water system, it is good. It's working in a lot of many of cities of United States. Or a lot of these like hydrant systems are very old, and some of them maybe not even working. So you got to make sure that it is good. Also investigate how close is the nearest fire department from the house, and how fast you think. I mean, these people get that has a big saying on this when you're buying this property. Okay, it has a lot of things to do with this, and I'm sure this is an investment, guys. This is going to be a great return on investment for you down the road. So you don't really want to put your money on something that will not give you good return on investment, ROI. So this is really what really I have learned through the whole process. Let me know here in the comments if you would be willing to buy a house that was burned down with an extensive to total fire damage and it was rebuilt, or if you will buy something that was just a partial fire damage. I'd be curious to know if you will be wanting to buy one of these, or this comes into your stigma list that like I will never buy a house of this kind. Thank you again for watching this video. I'm Robert Garcia, and I'm here to guide you through this raw real estate market in a smart and simplified way. If you found this video very helpful, please do me a favor, give it a thumbs up, click on that like button, and maybe share it with others. Who knows? And don't forget to subscribe, because my channel brings weekly content like this with some tips for you if you're looking to upsize into a better and bigger house. Thank you again for watching. Have a good day. Bye-bye.